also Emmanuel, who's not here representing some of the smaller cities. But really, these are just the next drafts to the update of the comprehensive plan. We're not required to bring it to you, but we do because we think it's beneficial. Looking at it, understanding it, giving us some comments back to it. That's why we bring it to y'all. With that, from my standpoint, before I turn it over to Matt, I have yet to meet with the Parks and Recreation Authority. I'm hoping to set that meeting up fairly shortly to get updates from them because they've had a change in leadership with Mr. Page from the previous executive director. So I'm looking forward to that. I also have a meeting scheduled with the county attorney the end of this week just to double check some of those changes. I have a meeting tomorrow morning with a citizen who's interested in these changes. And then, of course, whatever Matt or Emmanuel bring back too. But we're still working on this. But at this point, I'm just excited to hear from you and see what we can get at.
Certainly. So, Mr. Chairman, we've already done the hard part of this back in September when we were looking at the large version where we were showing all of the changes, the old 5-year work plan versus the new, lots of detail, and that was transmitted to the Department of Community Affairs and the Regional Commission for their review. That came back from the state as approved, which gave us the green light to proceed, which is where we are now. We cannot adopt until after the first few days of December. That is why it's not on HIRA's agenda for Thursday night, but simply their meeting in January. December 1st is too early for them to be able to adopt this under state law. But these are all the local governments of the comprehensive plan. My recommendation to you is, Valdosta and HIRA are ready to move forward with their portion of it. There's no remaining changes from them, at least not that I'm aware of now. Perhaps the best thing would be to recommend approval of it as presented in your packet, subject to some minor changes perhaps from the Parks and Rec Authority and some of these smaller communities such as Riverton. We are still waiting on some input from them. But perhaps a recommendation for approval to proceed contingent upon additional input.
I just had a question, just out of curiosity. Like the very first one, retiree marketing, were those affordable houses and HIRA fall into that category?
They could. If it's anything, this is a goal and policy of the comprehensive plan, which are
I just wondered if we could.
And yes, anything that helps market the Greater Lowndes community for retirees. That has been one of the focus groups of the chamber. Specialized group for that, and there's different ways to approach that. One is to provide senior housing. Project in HIRA that you're all familiar with and we've talked about with the variance case, it's not exclusively retirees, but that I think is one of their target audiences.
I'm just curious, I didn't have HIRA listed tonight.
Do you have any other questions? Well, I'd like to ask this, and if there is anybody that would like to have some input or would like to raise a question about the comprehensive plan short-term work program, if there's anybody in the audience that would like to make a statement, please come forward. State your name and address, please.
My name is Gretchen Quarterman. I live at 6565 Quarterman Road. And I'm really sorry that I missed the September meeting, but I was helping my daughter buy a wedding dress that weekend, and I just couldn't get back in time. But I have an appointment with Jason tomorrow to address a lot of my questions. But I want to let you know that at the County Commission, they did not hold a public hearing after you approved the changes. I was at the City Council meeting, and the City Council did hold a public hearing, but the County Commission did not. And I believe that that is in violation of DCA's guidelines. They sent a transmission letter that said, we follow DCA's guidelines. And DCA's guidelines say, hold a public hearing. And there was on the agenda a public hearing, but no public hearing was held. So I didn't have an opportunity to see the document or to comment before the county sent it. So this is my only chance now to comment, and I know I'm really late. And I'm actually gonna give my comments in writing to Jason tomorrow. I'd be happy to go over some of my concerns if you want to know what they are. It's up to you.
Would anybody like to hear them?
Yes, I would.
Okay, please.
Okay, well, the first one is, and I didn't bring my printed out copy, which I got from the city of Valdosta. Thank you very much. I did get that through Open Records. In section 1.3, it was struck from the record, ensure supporting services such as healthcare, transportation, commercial resources that are developed to attract retirees. For example, Feed the Elderly program, Senior Nutrition Center. It's my understanding that the Feed the Elderly program was cut from the Lowndes County budget because they didn't have money for it. But I don't really know why are we cutting out ensure supporting services such as healthcare, transportation, commercial resources to attract the retirees. We're a retirement community. That's one of the things that we do here. So I don't know why that was struck. Support programs which promote positive workforce ethics, life skills, professionalism, such as the Haven Southside Recreation Club and the Boys and Girls Club. That was also struck. Is that because of Parks and Recreation moving from being in part of the city and the county into Parks and Recreation? I mean, don't we want to support, you know, workforce ethics and life skills? Everybody knows that I'm sort of an environmentalist. Encourage quality growth of economic engines without unnecessary impact on surrounding natural and built environments. For example, supporting agriculture as a primary economic engine through the Georgia Grown and Georgia Made program. Now, I know that Rhonda Barnes was let go because of budget constraints, and she worked on the Georgia Grown, Georgia Made program. But don't we still want to encourage quality growth of economic engines without unnecessary impact on surrounding natural areas? I mean, do we want to pave over every beautiful thing that we have in our county? Don't we still need farmers to feed us? Direct growth away from natural areas unsuitable for development by utilizing environmental resource and conservation zoning districts. Why would we stop doing this? I mean, that was struck out. Provide education on importance of groundwater recharge areas and wetlands. Okay, well, if that was an educational program, I can see maybe it came to an end. But one of the things that I've been concerned about, and we've talked about before, is the protection of the wells. We have the city wells and the county wells, and then we have a lot of community wells. And shouldn't people be informed about how to protect those, and that we shouldn't have, say, agricultural spraying near wells, and when developments are built, we need to be sensitive to where will their water come from? Reduce development pressures on agricultural land through conservation tools and increase density of new residential development. Don't we want to still do that? I mean, don't we want to have development close into existing services? I have a lot more. I mean, I just had so. Why were all of these things taken out when they're things that make our community better? That was my question. So I'm going to have a meeting with Jason tomorrow, but I do have a lot of concerns because we have a really great place to live. I love it here, and I want it to continue to be great.
Okay, I'm sure Jason looks forward to your meeting. But I would ask that after that meeting and when that information is gathered, Jason, if you would please distribute so we could take a look at that. And of course, we appreciate always, Ms. Quarterman, your input.
Well, and I appreciate you, taking the time to hear me, and I'm sorry that it didn't come sooner, but I was out of town then.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.